So welcome everyone to today's meeting. So what we've been journeying on is the impossible moment. And so just to kind of foreshadow how the impossible moment's going to manifest. Today we're going to get very close to tasting what that impossible moment could be. So far, we've tapped into the emotions that we want to feel in that moment. We tapped into the purpose of the impossible moment. That the purpose isn't to realize it, but rather to realize the version of us that could create that impossible moment. And then, so we've tapped into the emotions. We've also lightly tapped into the qualities of that impossible moment and what could be in that impossible moment. Like, what are some of the pieces of that impossible moment that could create those emotions? So, for example, if you're, one of the parts of your impossible moment, if you wanted to have that feeling of connection, well, there has to be people to connect to. So there's likely going to be people there. So we can kind of take the emotional aspect of it and bring it more into the qualitative aspect of the impossible moment. So we're going to continue on that journey today, and we're really going to co-create some amazing things. We are also going to be using some breakout rooms to just conjure up this energy and also facilitate the connection and stepping into possibilities together with each other. So that's what today's going to look like. And by next week, this is where we're going to have our closing ceremony of what our impossible moment is. So by the end of next week's meeting, we will have a crystallized version of your impossible moment. Your impossible moment won't be 100% complete by next week, but we'll at least have the essence of the impossible moment, because I think it's impossible to crystallize the impossible moment completely. It's a vision that as we get closer to our impossible moment, it becomes more and more clear. Kind of like the metaphor of driving down the 50-mile road that's completely dark, and all we have is our headlights illuminating the couple hundred feet in front of us. We don't know what's miles ahead of us, but we will know once we get closer, once our headlights can illuminate it. All we need to know is where the next step is. And so this impossible moment is really a guidance tool. It's your GPS, so that we can continue to be on the path that is of our highest potential. So before we get started, I want to tap into some of your experiences over the last week. And I'd love to hear about how this work on your impossible moment has either shifted a perspective, maybe has challenged you, maybe there's some emotions that are coming up. So let's just open up the container for a few minutes, and I'd love to hear some reflection on what this impossible moment energy has done to just how you're showing up in your everyday experience. And whoever wants to chime in can just go ahead and chime in.
Someone has had some kind of experience that has jostled them into.
Yeah, I know for myself, it's been exciting. Last week, I've got my first listing under the Hay Group, and my first listing overall, and it was super exciting because it was kind of a manifestation of hard work and diligence and phone calls and doing the things that I'm supposed to do every day that accumulated to the first opportunity for me as an agent to represent a property and be a listing agent. So I'm super excited for that. And it's that moment, I was super emotional. I called my mom, and I just told her, I'm like, I'm doing it. And it's that reassurance, and she said that the big experience she had with her realtor was that they were confident no matter what, that they were going to get the home sold. And she's like, I'm confident in you. She goes, I know you have the self-confidence to do this, and know that I'm going to be successful no matter what, and just to stick to it and keep grinding, and it's going to be great.
Yeah.
That's awesome, brother. Thank you for sharing that, and congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. Let's get 2 more shares.
Should I pick someone?
They are already picked. They're just waiting for their moment.
They are. Somebody wants to talk.
There are 2 people, 2 more people that are already preordained to share. So you know who you are. So all you have to do is just take action.
Everybody.
Thank you.
I'll go.
Mm-hmm.
I was ready to throw my hat in too, but I always share. So I feel like
I do too. So I feel
segment.
like I need to, because everyone's like, oh, there goes Monique again. But whatever, you're not going to go. I'm going to take it.
Yep.
So part of my process, my impossible, is work-life balance. What I've learned this past week, I had a couple things pop up, personal, and another thing this morning, personal, overwhelming. Not going to get into that, not the point. The point is my expectations for how I expect other people to behave or respond based on what I'm going through. And so that's been a struggle for me this week, professionally, because I'm a hard worker. I'm over the top. I have expectations of people, and I need to, do this and say it doesn't always have to be my way. But I've realized on the personal side of my life that just because I would respond a certain way doesn't mean that that's the hard, steadfast rule. So that's been a big thing for me, to manage expectations and to manage being disappointed and let down when another person in my life isn't doing it the way I envisioned. And so I have to, again, use that breathing and stop and think about how they're responding to me and what the intent is. And then what I realized this week, often the intent is pure and it comes from a place of love and support. It just didn't come the way I envisioned it. So that's been a big lesson for me. And that's professionally. This week was more personally, but I was able to equate it to my professional life, that it doesn't always come wrapped up in the package that you think, but if you stop and breathe and really break it down, it was everything that you needed.
Yeah, I love that. And that is such a wonderful experience to have as we're doing this work, because the impossible moment is very much, it gets presented to us in the same way. When we have a vision for what's possible, when we do realize that vision, it almost never is the exact way that we thought it was going to be. And so, one of the things that your share reminded me of, Monique, is that suffering is at the root of all suffering are expectations. And so when we have these expectations, as if we believe that we know how perfection is created, right? We're coming from our imperfect framework, and we're designing the perfect way that something should unfold, which is taken away from, the sacredness of the moment. And so, I remember one of my mentors shared this with me like 10 years before I started getting like deeper into like my spiritual journey. I didn't really understand it at first, but there's so much meaning to it. And he said, trade your expectations for appreciations. And when you can appreciate all of those things, that's the whole idea behind, like, I really believe that, we're here to learn unconditional love, or I like to call it all conditional love, being able to show love in all conditions and being able to love all versions of each moment. And no matter what happens, allow that to be perfect, and understanding that every moment is always a perfectly crafted curriculum for us to learn what we need to learn. So even if it's violating our expectations, we can still say, oh, well, you know what? My expectations were just my expectations, but this is actually the way that it's supposed to go. This is what's meant to be. And when we can surrender to that and love it, that's when we can start to trade our expectations for appreciations. So thank you for that share. That is very rich, and lots of lessons for all of us to tap into. So thank you so much for that.
The only thing I like that, Dean, I would add to that, and Brian, thank you for raising your hand there, is that below expectations is attachment. So that's like the Buddha's 3 noble truths. So the first noble truth is that life is suffering, or suffering is inevitable, right? And so the second noble truth is everything will change. And so the third is don't get attached. So the attachment is what Dean was talking about, is the suffering. So Monique had an attachment to, oh, hey, I'm gonna treat somebody this way. So I have an attachment to, of course, they're gonna treat me this way. And it's like, they don't necessarily have that belief. So your attachment to that belief, you're gonna suffer. So the more we can let go, that's what we talk about. The more you can let go of what you believe, or really question what you believe, and like, how important is it? And sometimes it can be very important, but then you can still let other people believe what they want to believe and not have it hurt you, because you're not so attached to what you believe, right? That's my take on that. So thank you, Monique, and thank you, Dean, for illuminating it. Brian, what do you got there, pal? Thank you for sharing.
Well, I'm going to throw into the vulnerability ring here. This has me it had me very confused, and to the point where I was wondering, everybody seems to be getting this but me. I don't get my impossible moment. I can't really define it, and part of that goes back to being a perfectionist. But it all kind of clicked yesterday. I'm going to start this off first by saying I heard someone say, you're standing there with a cup of coffee, somebody bumps into you and you spill coffee. Why did you spill coffee? And everybody wants to run and say, oh, because somebody bumped into me. And the fact is, you spill coffee because you had coffee in the cup. Life is going to throw bumps at you, and there are going to be spills. And what comes out is a result of what's inside. And so that's going to tie into yesterday. Mr. Jack was getting ready to get a bath, and I don't know why, but he doesn't mind getting wet, but it's the getting wet. Once he's soaking wet, it's fine. So he decided to run down the street in the middle of cars and everything else. And I was panic stricken. And I'm running there, traffic is stopped. He's going up, and this lady stopped to get him, and then proceeded to get really aggressive with me. Why is he running from you? How come he only has one eye? What happened to him while he was with you that has one eye? To the point where she followed me home and drove up and down my street while I was giving him a bath. And I thought at first, gosh, this is getting kind of creepy, and I don't get creeped out by things. But then I thought, no, this is a beautiful thing, Brian. You may not have gotten clear yet on what your impossible moment is, but for all this being in with everybody else, one thing I learned was this is a lesson. How many times have I been overly judgmental, just off the fly by somebody, and just thought, oh, the dog's running away from him, therefore it's being beaten and mistreated, instead of the dog, decide to have a good old time and going from car to car, seeing who has the best car to hop into. And that's the whole thing I learned was, wow, that came out of her. Maybe she meant to help, and then it got really crazy. In this life that we're living now, where everything is crazy, I am so glad I was given the lesson that I didn't panic. I didn't do anything. I didn't stand up to her and give it back. I just got out of the way. And what it enabled me to see was, don't be a person that does that. And I haven't been part of the reason is because of all this. And it's the way I view things now, where I stop and take a breath before I make a decision, and I kind of remove myself from it. And I thought, well, okay, that's all part of this whole impossible moment thing. So you may not have it nailed down yet as to what it is, but at least you're learning how to deal with it. And as Dean said too, and Alex said, to kind of divorce yourself from it and leave that behind and allow stuff to fill in.
Awesome.
Beautiful, man. Yeah, that's great, dude. That's a huge breakthrough for you, man. Like, I love that. And thank you for sharing that and bringing it in. Yeah, don't judge yourself based on the level of understanding or the level of clarity that you have on this impossible moment. Just know that your impossible moment and the clarity that you have on it right now is exactly the level of clarity that you're supposed to have. No more or no less. You're literally exactly where you're supposed to be in this journey. So there's no judgment. This is just the journey, right? And if we can break that attachment from having the perfect impossible moment, then we can just allow the impossible moment to be what it is and the level of clarity to be what it is, and really just love where we're at. Because when we can appreciate where we're at, where we are at also appreciates.
Well, and it's the ability to get out of my own way.
Yep.
That's ultimately what I heard in there, big time.
100%.
For all of us, and it's for all of us believing that we need to know it, we need to have it, and that's like getting out of the way. And to Dean's point, you are where you need to be. So don't judge it. Love it.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm the biggest student. Like, I need the most help with this. Right? So like, this is, it's not me just like saying, oh yeah, I'm the guru. Like, no, we will never be perfect in this. We will never be, there's always going to be another level of available growth in this journey. And that's what's so empowering, but also humbling. So yeah, that's a great way to start today off. So let's go ahead and dive right in. What we're actually going to do, and Alex, I didn't share this with you, but I was journaling with it. I'm just going to ask for your trust, brother, on this. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a paired interview format of this next part of our journey, where we're bringing in the qualities, we're reflecting on the emotions that our impossible moment can create for us. And there's specific prompts that I'll share with you that will invoke some of this. The other thing that we'll do is we'll continue tapping into the qualities of that impossible moment, or some of the aspects of that impossible moment that would really make you feel alive. And this idea of aliveness has been just a really, it's been very profound just in my personal life and experience, and what part of my journey I'm going through. So I want to speak to that and just bring that in. And aliveness is also another way of saying embodiment, embodying our true selves. When we're really like in our essence and we're really knowing of ourselves, that's when we come alive most. And so the whole point of this is to reflect and then also project into the impossible moment that makes us come alive. So a couple of things with the paired interview. Each of you will be matched up with somebody else in a breakout room, and you're either doing one of two things. You're either the interviewer or you're the interviewee. And we're going to take 10 minutes per person. So we'll be in a breakout room for 20 minutes. After 10 minutes, you'll switch. But it's very important that when you're the person that's interviewing, all you're doing is you're asking the questions. And then, of course, if there's some energy or there's something that wants to be explored there, you can ask some probing questions, like, tell me more about that. Let's go deeper. So use your skill set of communication to really bring out the aliveness in the person that you're interviewing. But the idea is to not coach, to not, comment, no affirmation. You don't have to say, oh yeah, I really like that. The point of this is to receive the person that's expressing. And so the way that you receive the person that is expressing is, hold the noble silence unless you're actually asking a question. When you're in the noble silence, maintain eye contact with them through the screen and give them the gaze, like the most loving gaze that you possibly can give, and be really present in that moment. Don't worry about taking notes or anything like that. Just trust yourself to remember all parts of this interaction and gaze into their eyes and look at them as if they have already accomplished their impossible moment. So when you're interviewing, you're going to hold that gaze. And when you're expressing, when you're answering the questions, allow the aliveness to be shown through your body language, through your expression, through how you, your tonality, the words that you use. Be really intentional about tapping into the aliveness aspect of your impossible moment. So before I give you the prompts, are there any questions on that? All right, everybody practice your loving gaze. Let me see the loving gaze. As if your partner was already there and having already accomplished their impossible moment. So let's go ahead and put the prompts in the chat. So there's going to be 2 main prompts that you're going to ask each other, and you'll have 10 minutes to do this. So the first one is, what emotions do you want to experience in that impossible moment? What aspects or qualities would your impossible moment have that make you come alive? For example, who will be there? What will you or they be doing? How will they be feeling? What will you be thinking? All right, so these are just, you don't have to necessarily answer every part of that question, but those are just some ideas on allowing the expression of what emotions do you want to experience, and then what are the aspects or the qualities of that experience that could create those emotions. Alex, anything you want to chime in on that?
When we chatted about this on Saturday, just so everybody can kind of get, we talked about the qualities. So the emotions are, I like to say, they're derivations of happy, sad, angry, scared. Those are emotions. And talk again a little bit, Dean, about the qualities, or is it, we're talking about the texture. It's almost like what the scene would look like, right?
Yep. Yeah. What are parts, like if you're imagining the landscape of that impossible moment, like maybe where it could be, if there's something that invokes an emotion where that's clear, where you're like, yep, it's definitely going to be here, right? It doesn't have to be, but it could be. If there's, people that are involved in this impossible moment, who are they? Maybe that you don't know who they are, but you know how many there are, right? So these are all qualities that of the impossible moment that doesn't necessarily define what the impossible moment is. We're just starting to kind of crystallize, like, okay, this is the way that I'm feeling in my impossible moment. And here are the things that could come together to make me feel that way. So whatever's clear right now is the level of clarity that is meant to be. And what you'll find is that the more that you express about this, the more clarity that this vision will continue to just take form and shape up to be. So sometimes just by talking it through, like, have you guys ever had the experience of like not being clear on something and then like asking a question, and then after like asking the question, you're like, oh wait, I'm answering my own question. So it's the same sort of thing. Whenever we start expressing, that's when the ideas start to flow. So does all that make sense so far?
Yep, that's first questions.
Yes, so that's the first one. And then the second question, and you don't have to break this up like 5 minutes and 5 minutes. Just be conscious of the amount of time, and the interviewer is going to be the person that gives you like, the 2-minute warning or the 1-minute warning, however you want to do that, to make sure that both of you have a chance to share. We're going to be doing 20 minutes each. We're going to dive right in about 1 minute. The next question is, what could be a version of your impossible moment that feels impossible right now, but would make you come alive in that moment? So this is just ideas. Like, what could be a version of your impossible moment. It doesn't have to be the impossible moment. Don't judge yourself. Be like, that's not good enough of an impossible moment. If it could be an impossible moment, express it. Let it out. Because once you express it, there will be more awarenesses that come. So give me a thumbs up if you're all good on that, and that all that makes sense. All right, great. Anything that you want to add on that, Alex? Or any questions that you guys have?
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, perfect. So it's 11:25. We're going to be meeting back here at 11:45 and at 10 minutes switch. All right, welcome back.
You're with the right group to develop that with, brother. That's what I was saying, Seth.
Yeah.
So let's we've got about 15 minutes to finish off today, and what we're going to do is we're going to have a few shares, 3 or 4 shares of what you noticed about your partner and their level of aliveness. How did they come alive? And also if you want to comment on what that experience was like for you. First of all, did you guys like that? Did you notice that the gaze helped open up a deeper connection? Yeah. So let's open it up for a few shares. Who would like to share first about how their partner came alive and what you appreciated most about that experience?
I'll share real quick with Seth. So we got some texture and some feelings around his impossible moment. And so one of the feelings that he was that he's going to have at this moment is a super high level of satisfaction and a high level of confidence, feeling very, very confident. And also around that he is a provider. And so then behind the provider, that what kind of has the fabric of this together is a real estate industry. So he's confident and he has a high level of satisfaction and is a provider within the real estate field. And then also sees within that wants to be a part of the peers rather than being mentored to. He wants to be a mentor and a leader within the industry and also within his family. So that's kind of what came up.
Beautiful. Yeah. And so the one thing I'll invite with that is that there's a level of all of that is available to you right now. So what is the version of you that is still next to be had, that from your current state of consciousness and your current level of where you're at feels impossible? So how can you transmit that energy into a moment that feels impossible to the version of you right now? So just
it's like you're speaking to yourself from the future.
Right. So like the level of confidence that, that you can see yourself in, how can you just take that up, like turn the volume up a little bit more? And how can you just make it feel impossible? So you're right on the edge of having that awareness and inviting that vision in. And so when you take that vision, you're like, yeah, I can do that. All right. What is the version of you that can create something that you don't feel like you can do?
Oh, nice.
So awesome. Thanks for sharing that, man. What else did you guys notice? Brian?
Well, I was with Kevin, and it was the desire to be comfortable and to have a vehicle working in the background that provided, this engine that provided sustenance for all the day-to-day things, so that he can go out and be and do whatever and whoever he wants to be, knowing that he doesn't have to scramble to get the day-to-day things to meet his day-to-day obligations, like, expenses and things like that. And he shared that, it might be looking at new business opportunities as they come up to add to the mix of what he's doing, looking at developing other people, looking back every morning when he wakes up on himself and his family, and being so happy that everybody's taken care of and that he can do and that they can have without having to be in a situation where everybody's scrambling for the next way to survive. So taking that from surviving to really thriving and going on. And what was really amazing was, as he talked it through, it was this light that came on and that went, wow, that's part of my vision. And another piece of that puzzle just went click, I stuck it in there, and it's filling in. And that was what was so cool.
Awesome. Yeah, the expression, and that's why like journaling on this stuff and revisiting is so important. Like the work that we do here in this container for an hour a week is amazing. And this is kind of like your launching pad, but to bring it into practice and to integrate it into your daily routines, where it's like, all right, how often can I think about this? How often can I sit with, this energy and continue inviting more and more clarity? So, and Kevin, the version of you that can create that, I'll give you the same, kind of like what we just talked about, turn the volume even more up so that it feels that the level that you're envisioning right now, turn up the volume so that it's outside of the realm of possibilities from just your current limited consciousness. Because there's another level that when you say, okay, I have a limited mindset right now, so let me open up my mindset even more to tap into something that feels impossible, and then connect the version of you that can create that impossible moment.
Yeah, and just talking about it, that it actually helped me. Like Brian said, a lot of the stuff that we were talking about, I had never thought of, before. I've never told anybody that, and just expressing this and kind of having that time with Brian, just listening to me helped me figure some things out too.
Beautiful. Awesome, man. Thank you guys for that share. All right, who else would like to share? Where did your partner really come alive, and what did you appreciate about that experience?
Well, I can tell you when Alex and I were talking, he really came alive when he talked about orbiting outer space with his daughter, and being able to look down back at Earth. And it just shows you what a driving force family really can be, and how much it can really motivate you to get up out of bed really early in the morning and stay up really late at night, and maybe push through and persevere through tough times and such when it seems like you can't go another day or another hour or whatever. You just reach into that little supply of energy that they give you every day. And it was really special to see him light up thinking about what it would look like looking back at the beautiful planet that we have from a different perspective.
Beautiful.
It'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that level of like, that's literally out of this world. And to be able to create that, like, who do you have to become in order to create that? That's super special. That's a very inspiring version that can create that can bring that into a possibility. So we have time for one more share.
Candace.
My partner left. He had a closing to go to. So I was with Derek, and he popped out about 5 minutes before the end. And honestly, his impossible moment is, I could see it in his face. It's moments away. It's hours away in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of his life. And for him, just watching that internal struggle of where he has to really be ready to be at peace when that moment comes so he can be present in that moment. And that's what I saw him kind of wrestling with was, I see it, I can feel it, I can touch it, it's right there. Like it's literally, it's 6, 8 weeks, 10 weeks away, you know, that's nothing. And he's just this internal turmoil, which that's the irony of it. That's his impossible moment. It's not what's coming, it's him finding the peace. So to kind of watch him walk through that and realize like, that's not the impossible moment. It's me finding peace is the impossible moment. To be able to be present in it. So.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And, you know, another thing that just comes up again is that if that impossible moment feels like it's right around the corner, what's a version of that that can be amplified that feels really far away? Like how can that, you know, that level of peace be even deeper, you know, and even more profound? You know, if that's the essence of the impossible moment, like how can we just turn the volume up on that? So, and that's the challenge here, is to continually just finding, okay, yeah, that's a comfortable vision, right? But what's uncomfortable? What's the part of you that doesn't really believe in that? You know, and that's going to be another part of what we're going to be doing next week, is to listening to all the voices within us about our impossible moment. So we'll do more work on that next week. But to wrap up today, let's get some intentions between now and next Monday. What could be an intention that over the next 7 days that you can hold and have and go about your day in a certain way, or just a certain practice to have, that could help you crystallize your impossible moment more? And let's just open it up for 2, 3, maybe 4 shares. What's an intention that you can have? Alec, did you have something to say?
Yeah, sorry. I had to unmute.
Yep.
Oh, you can go if you want.
Go ahead.
I'd say like, you mean like something that's like help you work towards that moment? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
I think for me, set shorter term goals. Cause right now my problem, I think, with like looking at like I always look at the long term. I don't set small goals to reach like every week. I mean, I do like the daily calls I try to hit and things like that, but I think it needs to be more specific, like maybe, you know, do a certain amount of showings, or like if I don't get like any showings, do an open house on Saturday and Sunday instead of just once, things like that. Because right now all my goals are kind of way in the future. So I think and organize better probably. I'm pretty unorganized when it comes to my scheduling. So.
Yeah, and that's also a part of some of this work, is to come back into the present moment, connect with the version of us that can realize that impossible moment, find the gap, and then how can we process along the way and really reflect on every single day, like, am I getting closer or further away from the version of me that can create the impossible moment?
Yep.
So that's great. Let's do one more share.
For me, kind of talking about what I spoke with Monique about, and really what you opened up with about managing expectations. And, you know, mine was, you know, having lack of success before and dealing with disappointments. My intentions are actually starting this week. This past hour, you know, past 2 hours, I've been beating myself up for a mistake I made. So I'm already learning how to handle that emotion right now. So I'm kind of going through it, you know, making some of my first real big mistake in real estate, and you know, just kind of trying to deal with those expectations and not beat myself up and turn it into a really positive. So, and actually, you know, grinding and working harder to make it better, you know. So kind of going through that right now. So.
Awesome, brother. It is all just part of the journey.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. The destination is the journey. You know, so when we're on the journey, we're here. We have arrived. So, so yeah, that's great. Thanks for bringing that in, man. Well, it's 12 o'clock here, and Alex, anything you want to close out with?
That was great. Thanks
Awesome.
everybody for participating. Looking forward to next week.
Yep. And yeah, hold those intentions. If you didn't share an intention, just have an intention for this week to integrate this work and really keep sitting with it and inviting more and more clarity as we move into next week. The more work that you allow yourself to do on this over the next week, the more impactful next Monday will be. So have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Guys.
All right.